Hi, everyone. TJ All. It's I-45 now. Welcome to yet another forum covering our local elections as early voting gets underway on Monday, the 25th, and Election Day coming up on May the 7th. Now we focus in the city of Texas City, where we have the at-large city commission race being contested. We have four contestants there, two incumbents and two challengers in the race there. And we welcome you on board to join us here today for that. And as always, we partner with the Texas City Lamarque Chamber of Commerce and their CEO, Paige Michelle, on with us right now. Paige, welcome on here, and let you take things away to start things off.
Okay, great. I just want to welcome everybody to this election forum for the City of Texas City at-large commissioners. Thank you, I-45 Now and TJ Alts. One of the ways the Chamber serves the community is to be the voice of business at the local, state, and federal levels with government. We encourage all businesses to stay active by taking advantage of opportunities like this, to be informed, to provide feedback to the Chamber, and encourage all of your employees and coworkers and friends to vote in all elections. Your vote is your voice. As part of the effort to provide voter education, the Chamber's Advocacy Committee asked candidates to complete a questionnaire about their views and goals if elected, and those are posted on the Chamber website, which is www.tclmchamber.com under the Resources tab. And so now we're just glad to have this opportunity to get to know these candidates better. And TJ, thank you for hosting, and take it from here.
Gotcha. And Paige, you guys have a cool event coming up, the Business Showcase. Tell us about that.
Yes, we do. I'm excited. In 1 month, on Thursday, May 19th, we'll be out at the Mainland City Center. We'll have about 50 businesses there that are going to show off their products and services, and you can meet them. Plus, you'll get to have a little taste of the town. All of the new restaurants at the Mainland City Center will be having samples of food and drink, and several other local restaurants and caterers from the region will be there with samples. There'll be great giveaways and door prizes and a raffle, and it's free admission. It's from 11 to 3, so it's basically a very long lunch hour time of day. So come out, everybody, and see us.
All right, Paige. Thanks a lot. We appreciate you joining us here today, and we always appreciate the partnership we have with the Texas City Lamarque Chamber. Thanks a lot, and we'll be talking to you again. And for those that have the invites, we'll see you Tuesday at the Industrial Trade Show too, where we'll be at throughout the day. So, Paige Michelle, the CEO of the Texas City Lamarque Chamber of Commerce. Thanks, Paige. Appreciate it. All right, now let's get into our session now as we get ready to meet with our candidates here. They are. Let me a quick introduction to those. They are the incumbents, the Mayor Pro Tem and at-large Commissioner Thelma Bowie, at-large Commissioner Kevin Yackly, and their challengers, Abel Garza, former city commissioner, candidate for at-large commissioner, and Marque Salinas, candidate for city commissioner as well. No stranger to these forums as well. Good to see you again, Mark. Thanks for being a part of this. We do appreciate you all being in here with us here today. Let me start off right off the bat. The biggest issue probably facing our area, crime rate and gun violence. And it is something that, you saw, if anyone saw, I sat down with Police Chief Joe Stanton last week in Texas City about how to deal with the rash. We had a very bloody weekend in Texas City and Lamarque over a weekend there. Let me start with you, Mark, since you have that law and order background as well. With this, is that if you're elected as an at-large city commissioner, what policies are you going to promote, and what do you think needs to be done from the city commission standpoint to put a clamp down on this?
Thank you, DJ, for having me. I'll tell you this: right now, law enforcement, we have our back against the wall with growing violence we have throughout our entire county. But right now, Texas City and Lamarque area, they have had a very hard rash of issues with this. What I like to see is, obviously, we're always trying to build better. Is we need to start looking at community policing like we've always had, because right now, a lot of our citizens just don't communicate with our law enforcement. We have a very big. We need to bridge the gap between our law enforcement and our citizens, because right now there is none, or there is very little. We have some that, yes, we do have officers that go to the schools. We do have officers that go to churches. We do have officers go to civic meetings and stuff like that. But we need to get more out there to promote that our law enforcement are there to help them, not hurt them. And we need to engage our public to say, hey, look, call on us at time of need. Even sometimes call us when you just need to share some things that you have going on in your neighborhood so that we can have a better, I guess, ears on the ground or feet on the ground. Like, hey, these citizens want their city to be safe. So I would like to say, hey, have our officers. We have, Tech City just now decided to have the biggest pay raise with our stuff that we got going on. Our law enforcement officers are going to be paid the most in our entire county. So we need to try to promote those officers to be the best officers we have for our entire city, not just at the time and have them stay there and then leave. We want them to stay there, grow roots there, and have our officers be better. So we need to start looking at throwing in the policies that we need to have community policing. We need to have our officers obviously being paid very well. And I appreciate that because right now, for a while, a lot of officers, we cannot engage young officers to come and work here. We need these officers to stay here and protect our citizens in our streets. So I would like to have our officers at full capacity. Of course, that's a given on any city. And at the same time, we need to, nurture them and make sure they have the ample training that they need with the growing need of technology, the changing times of our society, and have our officers get with our citizens, because right now that gap is very big. We need to work on bridging that gap between our citizens and our law enforcement officers, our first responders.
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it. And now Mayor Pro Tem Thelma Bowie. Same question to you, Commissioner.
Given the rising crime rate and violence, there's no exception in Texas City. We know that it's happening throughout the United States, and so Galveston County is no exception. The pay raise that we recently gave our officers, which was the largest, as was stated earlier, that our officers have received. Our issue is we don't have enough men on the ground. We roughly have 81 officers working the streets to keep us safe. We have grants that have paid for the salary and benefits for up to 101. So I feel that we have got to aggressively seek goals and objectives that will allow us to recruit and retain officers so that Texas City becomes the choice for employment when it comes to law enforcement. I also feel as though we have got to build a gap between neighborhoods and the police officers. There's a lack of trust that exists. I think that we're working on resolving it, but we need to make sure that we get into the community and we're doing things other than enforcing the law. In other words, we're building relationships with the people who live in the communities. I think that by providing our officers the new emergency training service center located on Humboldt Road, it gives both our police and our fire department tools and a place to train for emergency situations that can and will occur. And so we're providing those resources. We just need more officers on the street. We need to build trust, build relationships, and I think we'll be heading in the right direction.
Thank you, Commissioner. Appreciate it. Commissioner Yackly, your response to, as you would approach it, and you have been on the commission when that was raised, as we're done, what to do now?
Okay, first of all, day one, I went and seen the mayor and told him we needed to increase how much our police officers made. We need to make them the choice. Instead of us being a training department for League City, that League City needs to become a training department for Texas City. Secondly, is create opportunity where pay will come in. Opportunity is the most of the time when they do not have jobs. That's where theft and drug addiction and drug use comes in with idle time on the kids. Keep them busy. And next, this is real simple, is to as we did is increase, we got an office, we brought it to, we increased by 15 officers. That's one right there, 15. So if we can get those jobs filled, because we're the highest paid police department, we should be able to do it. And following that is a real simple one as well, is to, unfortunately, every officer, I would say every, but a lot that I talk to are not happy with administration. We have to look to make sure that our administration either needs a shakeup or we need to change the top. Very important. We need to do it. And then we could finally is to make sure that we have more lighting. We have more cameras. We can be ahead of the game. We know when something's going to go on. So that's what's real important to me. And then to have the trees cleared. So there's more, you go downtown, and of course now we have the new LED lighting, but if you go away from that and go on down 6th Street, make a right or a left, all of a sudden you're in a dark neighborhood. We need to lighten things up, and we need to involve the community and stop having the police department blame the citizens. I don't think it's the citizens. I think it's the police department.
Gotcha. And we're going to drill down on this a little bit more. Same question to you, Abel.
Violence both together. Anyway, Texas City unfortunately has become slightly above average when it comes to the crime rate. It's slightly above the national average. As of this morning, I understand that they've hired 91 officers, and they're, like Commissioner Bowie said, we are authorized to hire 10 more to get to 101. The standard around the country is that you have 2 police officers for every 1,000 citizens. So if we have a population of 50,000 in Texas City, you're looking at 100 officers, but it wouldn't hurt to have more because of the crime rate being above average. Hopefully, with more officers patrolling the city, it will deter the crime. Now, on the gun violence part of the question, it's almost like it's become a culture of violence. It's become so common that it's becoming the norm, and it's accepted as a part of life by the general population. The culture of violence serves as a grounds for fear, anger, and it results in high crime rate. And I'm thinking that the violence could be related to gangs, it could be related to drugs, home invasion, theft, and not even road rage. People are being shot because of road rage. I believe that Texas City and the county and the district attorney's office, we need to have more strict incarcerations, more sentencing, and the bond process needs to be revamped. We have a pretty lax bond process, and it could be revamped, and that would deter a lot of the crime.
Gotcha. But as a city commissioner, let me ask, this is the question to all you. Let me start with something that Commissioner Yackly said. Kevin, let me ask you straight up. You said the administration may need to shake up there. Are you saying you don't have, as a commissioner, the confidence in Chief Joe Stanton and his top brass there?
That's correct.
Can you dive down into that? What do you think?
Well, I talked to the officers that are on the street, and they blame one another, and there's a lot of friction among them. We go to commissioner meeting, and we're talking about what things going to happen at churches and so forth. We need to have the police officers do a one-on-one with you and talk and say, hey, this is a problem. When it's every time that every department that a new mayor comes in, there's always been a change. This time it didn't happen. I love Joe Stanton. I think he's the nicest guy in the world. He really is. But we have a problem. We need to pull that brass out of the office. And they all have computers in their cars. There's no reason they have to be hid behind those computers. They need to be out on the street and then take their computer with them and do their paperwork if they're sitting there on 6th Street or if they're sitting there over on the west side of Texas City or in the new area.
Let me just clarify. Are you saying you want the police chief to be active patrol?
Absolutely.
Okay. Commissioner Bowie, let me ask you, do you support that philosophy as well? What is your confidence level in Chief Joe Stanton? Oh, sorry. Hang on, Commissioner. I had your mic muted. Sorry. Go ahead.
I have total confidence in Chief Stanton and our police officers serving to keep us safe. The issue is not indicative from my conversations with the officers that I've spoke with that Commissioner Yackly has just stated. So I'm not quite sure where he's coming from, but what I would like to further expound upon is that the staffing levels increased by 16 and not 15. And Commissioner Yackly, you voted against the budget, the annual budget that included the police officers' raises. So, I'm not quite understanding why you would vote against the budget that included the actual 15% raise that we gave our police officers.
And I'll come back. Kevin, I'll give you a chance to respond. Let me give Abel and Marque a chance here. Abel, next to you, what is your confidence level in Joe Stanton as the chief? You heard the accusation there from from Commissioner Yackly. Where do you stand on that issue?
I have confidence in Chief Joe Stanton, and also have confidence in his Assistant Chief, Jess Caldwell. I think Texas City is staffed appropriately when we hire the additional 10 officers that we need, and I believe that we're on the right track. It's we can only improve, being that we're above the average on the crime rate. We're going to be fine, I believe. It's just a matter of getting the police officers out there. Joe Stanton is an administrative officer of the police department. Joe Stanton does not need to be patrolling the streets. I agree with Commissioner Bowie. He's fine where he is, and Jess Caldwell is fine where he is. We have good captains and good officers and good leaders.
Gotcha. Mark, again, bringing your law enforcement support in there, particularly too, so the times that you've represented the rank and file on many issues in one of your positions, at least, where, from what you know, where do you think the officers feel about their administration, and where do you feel as administration, particularly since you're running for a commission policy seat here?
I have total faith in Joe Stanton. I haven't heard from any of the other officers saying they have problems with him at all. I was listening to his last statement that he had with the public, and talking about the increase in crime, that they're doing operations with other agencies, which is pivotal. Which we need to start working on that more. Not just when crime gets tough, we need to start working with our other neighboring cities so that we can, because criminals just don't stay in their city. They come from other cities and they go to other cities to do bad things. So we need to build on those relationships, and he's doing a fine job at it now. I don't see where we would get that kind of statement that he have no faith in him.
Gotcha.
The man's been with the city for many years. I believe whenever it's time for him, he wants to retire and hang it up, let him go on his own. But right now, he's doing a great job.
Hey, Kevin, let me go first, give you a chance to answer from what Mayor Pro Tem Bowie said about you voting against the final budget that included.
It was real simple. Had nothing to do with the police department. I'm the one that went in there on day one and asked for a raise for the police department immediately. I asked for 25%. So I went on day one. I voted against it because our commissioners are allowing to have our animals euthanized. And I did it because I did not think that we should give $50,000 to a kill shelter. That's exactly the reason I did it. And I stated that as well.
Okay. And we're going to come around to the animal shelter a little bit later there too, which is the county shelter that Texas City is a part of from there.
Yeah, well, we pay into it.
Yeah, you pay. No, I was saying it's the county shelter, but the Texas City is one of the larger contributors to it, and we address that a little bit later on that issue. But it gets into, all right, you can put more officers on the street, but a lot of new officers being hired. That means you have more inexperience on the streets right now than you would have had before. It takes a while to get community policing going with a new officer, gets to know the community. So, what policies would you support, Abel, to make sure that that folks are brought up to speed a little bit quicker there, besides just putting the boots on the ground per se?
On the what now, TJ?
Well, what policies as a commissioner, because that's all you can control there. What policies would you adopt to help get more of that community policing that Mark mentioned earlier, and to get these new officers up to speed? Because there's a lot of new officers. That means less experience on the streets.
Yeah, Texas City cannot be the only city in the state or the country that has an issue with policies and procedures. I've never believed in reinventing the wheel. We need to call and make phone calls and find out what other cities are doing that's working. We need to kind of use that as the groundwork, to benchmark to see where we need to go. It's a matter of timing. We don't have time to just create new things when we can borrow from other cities and see what they're doing that can work for us.
Gotcha. Mark, same question to you. Is that what policies, if you're elected to city commission, would you do to help support getting those newer officers on the street? They're going to be, less experienced in many cases, and also not as familiar with the community possibly. What policies would you push or want to adopt to help them get to speed a little bit faster?
Of course, yes, we need to reach out to all our entities that we have around our city, churches, our groups, see what it is that the citizens want from their officers. Now, the one thing I would like to see as a policy for law enforcement officers, yes, we're going to get some inexperienced officers to come to work here, but at the same time, they have more knowledge of the 21st century of law enforcement than our seasoned officers that have been here for a while. And that's no insult to any officer that's already there, but each in their own. Older officers will learn from younger officers, and younger officers always learn from the older officers. I learned many things when I worked with seasoned officers at the sheriff's office and at the other agencies that I've been with. You know, one of the most favorable ones I ever learned a lot of stuff from was Oscar Eakland, God bless his soul, when he was in the city of Galveston. A lot of the things that those officers know from that time and age will help you now. And case in point, the officers that are young can teach our older officers the new ways of how law enforcement is evolving. No one likes to change, of course, but yes, I would like to see that. And the community policing aspect is, yes, it's not going to be something done overnight, but we do have to start somewhere. And when you build on those relationships with our churches, with our areas that we have a lot of public in, where we have the swimming pools, have our officers come by. Even the schools, the officers that have schools now, we need to have our officers that live in that work in the city go and work with the high school that are there now with the sheriff's office, so they can build on those relationships there. When they see them, they're going to know them out on the street versus our kids running from them. So we need to build our relationships that way, and I would like to see that put into place.
Gotcha. Thelma, same question. What policies have you supported or will support that you think would help getting these new officers up to speed more to institute community policing and to get familiar with the community faster?
I don't, at this point in time, recommend any particular policy to get them up to speed. I think that the training that new officers receive should continue as it's always done. We don't need to do a rush job in getting these new officers experienced and ready. I think that we should simply pair them with the more experienced officers, allow them to complete their training modules. I don't see the point in rushing, creating a policy to get them on the streets faster. I would rather that we get the training done over time as we normally do, and that the training is done right, it's complete, and it's not something that we've rushed just in order to put more boots on the street.
Gotcha.
And that's my position.
Kevin, same question to you. What policies have you supported or would support to get that training for those new officers, get them up to speed a little bit quicker?
Well, I would say incentive. You've got to have incentive. And for TJ, it's all hands on deck. This is a problem. They're all talking about training. This takes time. We had it happen last weekend. We have it this weekend, next weekend, past weekend. This has to be addressed quickly. We can't sit back and wait. We need to be moving on it. And when I talk to the citizens, especially a senior citizen, they're worried about it. They don't want to come out with you knock on the door and they answer with fear. This has to be dealt with now and quit pussyfooting, because that's just what we're doing.
Well, and that goes into my next question here, and it gets into Chief Joe Stanton. In my sit down with him last week, talked about the coordinated effort that's been going on for a little more than a year now with the Galveston County Sheriff's Office, Marque Police Department, Hitchcock Police Department, and the Marshal Service, the Organized Crime Task Force, which had been making a series of certain enforcement actions over a short period of time. Now, the decision's been made because of what had happened this last weekend, right before Easter, and then Easter weekend, to really ramp that up and to not just be every couple of months. It's like constant out there, not knowing when and where they're going to be. Do you support that, Kevin, that approach to things of that joint organized crime task force? And if it requires extra funding to do so, to make sure there's officers on that task force on a regular basis, would you be supportive of that?
I would be supportive of that. We have to figure the way we can only really do it is by an increase, and it could be a fee. And I don't even like to look at work as a crime tax or something like that. But I know for sure that we could take care of all the money that's funded us from the government first, making sure the money's being spent by giving overtime to all the officers, make incentive. Say, hey, you want to work these hours? We're going to give you this increase. And got to make sure that everybody's happy. We are making them now the highest paid officers, which is my goal. And I want to strictly re-say it again. I love Chief Stanton. I did not say I dislike him. He's not doing a bad job or whatever. I think he's a good guy. But when the problem starts, the people want the person at the top taken out, and they want something new. They want to see action. And we're just talking about this and that. We have a problem, and this problem needs to be solved now before it gets out of hand even worse.
Point of clarification, though, I asked you directly if you'd lost confidence in his leadership, and you said yes.
Well, it's
You said you weren't critical of his job performance, so I asked you directly, and you said yes, you lost confidence in him.
Well, that doesn't mean I want him fired. I just want a reshuffling. Say, hey, we need to get this out. Maybe we need to do this. Maybe we should, like you said just a moment ago, we do a task force. We should have a weekend task force. It should happen all the time. I just said, I think that we definitely need to change because crime is rampant. And we need to
that's what I was talking about. The task force is supposed to be ongoing now, but it may require extra funding, and that's why the question was.
Right. We'll have to do like they do in all other cities. Is we'll have to throw a percentage on it, but we have to use some of our money that we have in the bank now.
Gotcha. Mark, same question to you. Would you, if you're elected, would you support extra funding to put the dedicated officers to the task force, and maybe it requires overtime or the like? Hang on, I've got your mic turned off. Sorry. Mark, your mic is muted, sir.
Sorry about that.
Yeah,
absolutely. No problem. I would totally support that. But I would tell you, we need to start looking at other avenues for funding. We're not just going to lead the taxpayer, in essence, the city of Texas City citizens. We need to start asking our lawmakers up there in Austin, say, hey, can we get some grants over here to battle this problem that we have now? It didn't sprout overnight. We see it all the time. I've had citizens now that say they are scared to walk outside, much less drive down the street with all the violence going on right now. So, yeah, right. I would say I would totally support that with additional officers and additional funding. But we also got to look for avenues of other sources of funding, not just the city. We need to see if we can apply for grants on the state level or even on the federal level.
The tough thing about that, though, is it goes into those grants. They'll be there for a while, and then they just go away at some point. So a lot of times, if the drug task force was around for many years too, and went away because the federal dollars that just disappeared, wasn't refunded. How do you that would you be something though you'd be supportive of? Okay, yeah, maybe grants to start, but then build it into the budget year after year to have those dedicated officers.
Totally, because because once you see that the program is working, you'll find the funding to go ahead and have it implemented at all on a regular. Not just on a grant. We need to start doing it all the time.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Gotcha. Same question to you, Abel. About would you be supportive of if it required it for the organized crime task force or some type of task force to go out on a regular business that used to be the FIT squad, that in Texas City till it came under fire for what some like this kind of racial profiling in some of the handlings. But what would you support, and would you support extra funding if it required it for overtime, as Kevin suggested, or something else to get folks on the more officers on the streets dealing just with the high crime areas?
The simple answer is yes. I would definitely support any time of extra funding if we could save one life, it would be worth it. But I believe that the funding could come from grants, and then I agree with you that after the grant funding expires, we could put it in the budget. There is some funding, I believe, available to do some things on an emergency basis, but we really need to curtail the crime rate, the shootings, the activity that's going on in the last few weeks. It needs to be curtailed, and we need to fix it. And whatever the cost is, we need to come up with the money from somewhere. A task force is a great idea. Working with the county sheriff's department, working with whoever, it would be a great idea to do those kinds of things to curtail the killings and the crime rate.
Commissioner Bowie, same question to you, ma'am.
I agree that the Joint Task Force need to be consistently funded. Whether it comes from the budget and or grants or a combination thereof. We also need to look at building the added cost into the annual budgets from year to year if we don't get a handle on crime. But in Texas City, our citizens want to feel safe. And right now, they don't feel safe.
How do you make them feel safe?
I think that the Joint Task Force clamping down on some of the gang activities as has been occurring in the past, quieted things down on the street. But as soon as, the forces step down or pull back, we see the rise in the shooting. We see fights over the drug locations, territories. It's not something that we can start and stop. It's something that we're going to have to consistently do in order to get our city safe.
And we could probably spend the entire hour forum on this topic all the way through, but we've already, as I said, taken up 30 minutes of that, and that's why I wanted to. One that won't go away, but is obviously a top one for there. Let me get into our next topic here, and that's dealing with, obviously, since the chamber is our partner on this, small business development. And I'll start with you, Kevin. You're, I know, quote unquote, retired now. I don't know if that you can really say that as active as you are, but you're a former small business owner, had a popular business here. How would you rate how the city works with its small businesses in town, and what would you like to see the city do to improve the small business climate, not the major business climate, the small business climate in the city?
We, in my opinion, do nothing with the small businesses. I don't think that I ever had the city come in and discuss with me in my 31 years as a viable small business, come in and say, Kevin, how can we help you? But I could give you dozens. First of all, thank you, Paige, for having this. Paige and the chamber does a good job, and they try hard, and we appreciate it. But most of all is that we're spending all the money. I don't want to call it, you got 6th Street. It's beautiful. I drove down there. The lights are absolutely beautiful. Only problem is there's no businesses. We need to incentivize and real incentives to get business. We have to build the buildings ourselves and to put businesses in there. There is nothing down there. We need to figure out a way to get all the traffic from 45 to come into our city. We have to get that. When I am working Galveston and I see in Galveston all those people from all over the world and all over the United States coming into town every weekend and all summer long and spring break, we don't get them. We need to make it a priority. We need to make sure that our small businesses, we have a TV channel. Why cannot the person who's in charge that comes in there and says, hey, I'm in charge of small businesses, why can't they come with a camera and put it on there? And so we can have a continuous showing the small businesses on our TV channel and then advertise that. Why can't we use our water bill and put a coupon on there and say, hey, go to Grand Prize or go to Chick-fil-A or they're a small business because it's individually owned. But why can't we put a coupon? Why can't we do a lot more? We do nothing. We say, oh, yeah, we do put out a little book and we do this, but we don't do the, and on top of that, we got a beautiful dike there and we do not push it enough. It needs a makeover. Palmer Highway needs a makeover. We need to call Old Town Spring and figure out hire their person away from them and hire how they turn into. Have you ever been up there? I know you have, and it's packed with people. That's what we need. We need to do real effort, not fake effort, not just writing on paper, but we need to do something for real.
Thelma, let me ask you on that. Where do you think the city stands on helping small business development?
Economic Development Corporation and the Texas City Marque Chamber, partnering also with the City of Texas City, are developing collaborative plans to increase small businesses in the city. As a member of the chamber, I served on the committee that formed a Level Up initiative, which offered training opportunities to small business owners with various classes to prepare them to thrive and survive in the city of Texas City. That program has been very, very successful, but we need to probably expand it. Here in the city of Texas City, I spend my dollars locally. My friends, I encourage them to do likewise. The Texas City Economic Development Corporation is currently developing its strategic plans to guide them for the next 5 years. So I expect there to be some action items resulting from that will drive small businesses to Texas City so that they can compete, they can survive, they will thrive.
The same question to you, Abel, on that of, where, as you've watched it and you sat on the commission at one point, but, how would you rate how the city supports or builds up small businesses, and what would you like to see more of?
Having been born and raised in Texas City, TJ, I've seen a lot of businesses come and go. And it's well known and understood that small businesses are the backbone of the American economy. They create vibrant communities because they employ local residents, and they often donate services, goods, and funds to support the community causes. It's really important that we continue. I believe that the Texas City Marque Chamber and the Texas City Economic Development Corporation work hand in hand in trying to see what new ideas they can come up with to attract small businesses, whether it be tax incentives or whatever it may be. Reduce the rates of buildings where they can lease their businesses, release the property to have their businesses. But you know what? I would like to get with the Texas City Marque Chamber and the Economic Development and formulate a plan where the College of the Mainland and maybe even Texas City High School can come up with some classes that teach people how to run a small business, how to manage a small business, how to supervise and delegate and train employees, how to schedule employees, how to advertise, how to conduct inventory, a class on customer service, communicating with customers, closing and balancing, simple things that every small business, this is what they do. How to deal with the shoplifter, how to deal with somebody that's a disruptive customer, how to restock, order merchandise, create displays. There's a lot of things that can be done. And I think that Texas City really, I don't know if we're the only ones that are losing small businesses, but the larger businesses are coming in and they're taking over a lot of what the small businesses used to do. It's not the same as it was in the earlier days, I should say. But Texas City and the Marque Chamber of Commerce and the Economic Development Corporation will work out a plan. And the commissioners will be there to help formulate whatever it takes and provide whatever services and input of funds to get that going.
Mark, same question to you. If elected, what policies would you like to see the city, and how would you rate how the city interacts with small businesses now? Somehow we're not hearing you, Mark, even though I don't see your mic muted. It's not muted, but I'm not hearing you here. Try it again. Try it again. No? Somehow we've lost. What we do this? I'm going to give you a chance to answer that again, Mark, because I'm still going to stay on this business topic for a little bit, but somehow we've lost your audio from there. You may have to restart and come back in to try it here. And let me, I'm still not hearing you, partner. So once you restart, let me bring you up to the rest of the group here real fast on this moment. Is it, Kevin brought up, something about doing more, putting something on the city channel. Although I don't know how many people actually in the city have Xfinity, where you would see that as much, or at least, on the digital side of things, it would at least be effective. But also too, is that the role of the city to be involved in promoting small businesses, or is that something that should be left up because you have the memberships with the chamber, you have the Economic Development Corporation? Should they be handling that? And I'll start with you on that, Thelma.
I think it should be a continued collaboration between the City of Texas City, the Chamber of Commerce, and the Texas City Economic Development, with all three collaboratively working together to bring and drive businesses to Texas City, both small and large. And if the small business owners that are new getting started, the Chamber, again, is doing a wonderful job in offering various courses that help them learn the role of running a small business.
Gotcha. Mark, let me go back to you. Let's see if we can have your audio. Is it back again now?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can hear you. Yeah, now, and you're clear. Let me go back to that. Is this how do you think the city handles itself? And then also what policies or what role do you think the city has in supporting small businesses?
I have to commend anybody who decides to get into business themselves. It's a very big risk that they take on, and the stress that they put on themselves and their families. I would love to see that the city would, or anybody, either it be the EDC or the chamber, we can start promoting our small business with like the business of the week. Right now this is the 21st century, and we should have, social media with the power of social media. You can go out there and promote a business anywhere, on your phone or even camera like you have yourself. Invite these people, say, hey, look, we want to promote your business. Make sure that let them know who you are, give them a little bio on who they are, so that our citizens know who they are, that they're going to go do business with, whether it be a restaurant, whether it be a place for auto mechanics, or just one of the stores that someone took over and decided to have a storefront in the front. We don't have that many small businesses now. We need to start promoting that, and I would love to see that happen. So,
Gotcha. Kevin, if I can, I asked this someone in there about things there, but Kevin, let me just ask you here. You said there's no businesses 6th Street. I would think that Carrot Creations and a couple of those restaurants that are down there, the art shop, the antique stores and stuff would kind of, and El Cabano Cigars would disagree with you. And Scott Arnold has put money with the city's help to improve that building that was down there, was dilapidated, that to make it more attractive to something. What is it you think the city needs to be doing more specifically on 6th Street to put businesses down there? Specific policies.
Specific policies. One is to either build or come up with a way of getting more businesses I drove down there, TJ, the first day all the lights went on. I went down there. It's a ghost town. Yes, there's a few people in a couple bars. I saw that. But we need to have businesses that are constantly operating. And then we could get some of the businesses that are possibly related to Marathon, or related to our infrastructure, or those offices, and move city offices. We get more people down that they're going to go there for lunchtime. I think it's a ghost town. We went to 6th Street. We stopped at Palmer Highway. What about the other side? What about those businesses? Those buildings are still old, and they're not been updated. It seems like we love that little section right there, but everything else is not done. We need to come up with a way of incentivizing the dike and making it more recreation by partnering with Galveston, and somehow making our Texas City dike a more viable recreation area, that people would come and come to that area. We need cars. We need cars to come into town. Without them, we're in trouble. You can give all the incentives you want, but you got to have the wheels.
Gotcha. Thelma, I asked you this, but let me expand a little bit. 6th Street particularly, how would you rate how the city is? I mean, the city's done several programs down on 6th Street. At some point, though, you can put all the money is toward incentives. I know that the city at one point offered, ways for money to fix up your buildings and to fix up your businesses. And there's, after a while, businesses, if an owner is not going to go down there, they're going to choose not to. But what do you think can be done specifically for 6th Street?
Incentives have been offered by the Texas City Economic Development Corporation, but it's going to be the individual who is taking the risk to begin a small business. We can't force people to set up their small businesses on 6th Street. It's a risky thing to run any kind of business, and consequently, this is a personal choice that individuals have to make for themselves. And if they do, the chamber is offering the training if they should require the training, but it's an individual thing. We can offer incentives, but if people still don't come after incentives are offered, then it becomes a personal choice, and we just have to continue to develop those strategies that have worked in the past to get those places that are down there now, because the ones that are there are making money, or they wouldn't still be there.
Right. I mean, and we look at the investment that Georgia Barsley made with down there as well.
Absolutely exquisite.
Yeah. Mark, particularly 6th Street, I'll get to Palmer and the others here in just a little bit, but 6th Street, as you look at it, I don't want to spend on another 30 minutes on one topic, but quickly here, what you think the city could be doing more of?
Like I said last time, I would believe that we need to start working on promotion within our city. Social media would be great to promote these businesses, to keep them in business. So, hey guys, look, today's business of the week, or on this Friday, even as officials, as we sit there, the officials should be saying, hey, promote these businesses, because we're voting for y'all Everyone's voting for us. Hey, what are you going to do for me? I would like to promote your business on my platform.
Gotcha.
Say, hey, this is where you come by here. If y'all want to come have a cup of coffee with me, come over here and spend some time with this local business here, and you can have your conversation here with me.
Gotcha.
Promoting
And,
that business is the best way I can do it.
Gotcha. Abel, particularly 6th Street, what would you like to see done there? And how will the city take care of that?
Yeah, people are going to shop where they want to shop. And I agree that incentives is probably one of the ways to get people to go down 6th Street and do some business. The businesses, they're making money. They're doing well, the ones that are there. I mean, you got El Cubano, you said you got Carrot Creations, which is true. You got those two. You have a few bars and grill areas. Hey, Mikey's. It's coming around. And with the lights, I believe that's going to help a little. I mean, but still, the people have to want to shop there. If they don't want to go there, they don't want to go there. But offer them some incentives to build a shop in Texas City on 6th Street is good. I agree with that.
All right, folks, and we have about 15 minutes here, so we're going to have to kind of keep our answers quick. I wanted to get into code enforcement here. And Kevin, code enforcement also includes the animal control. So I'll start with you on this here. All right. So where do you rate how the code enforcement is in Texas City, and what specifically policies do you want to change as a city commissioner to make them better or enhance what's already there?
All right, since I've been in office already, we've added another code enforcement officer. Training is probably most important. That we need to. Our police are busy enough, but we need to have our citizens that are keeping their yards looking good and making sure that they do their part. But the problem is they haven't been trained it. That we should make an incentive for them to want to keep the yard looking good and making their yard up to code and making sure that the cars that they have are properly tagged. We have too many cars that are tagged. I've had those complaints brought to me, and it seems like we're in a fight now because actually they're doing their job. In Texas City, we have the most animals that are picked up between all the other cities combined that are taken out to our shelter. The most by 3 times. And that's because we have code enforcement officers. And the ladies that are out there at the dog shelter, they can't even handle what's just Texas City brings. We need to have a help. For instance, a real simple one is that we should have a movie put on TikTok that constantly is showing the animals that we have available in our shelter that need to be adopted. This is what has to be done. It's long enough time comes that Texas City teaches and actually visits the people, comes to their house and discusses the problem. We need more.
Let's get back on topic here. Let's get back on topic.
Okay.
But I'm saying
that's what I think.
My question was specific policies to make a difference there.
Well, we added the officers, number 1. And number 2, we have to train our citizenry and how to keep their houses looking good and keeping them up to date. That's what's the most important. And 3, we have to offer tax incentives for them to do that and to move their homes that are falling apart, to have them tore down instead of having to go through all the legal work that we do. We're constantly talking about that, of having homes demolished. So that's what I'm talking about.
Thelma, Kevin brings up a point there, but one of the things is that when the city has tried to enforce code to do something like that, they're running into a wall. In fact, I know that a local attorney was hiring a video consultant who was going around doing stories on everyone at one point because they were trying to get folks to take responsibility for their property. But how do you, because it is an issue that comes up, how do you make things better on the code enforcement side in the city?
We've already begun making things better. Code enforcement, the name in itself, denotes a heavy-handed approach to resolving violations. We have changed the name of code enforcement to Neighborhood Improvement Services, which is intended to encourage residents to keep their neighborhoods clean. And if they're not, they can go into an electronic platform, which is called MyGov, and enter those violations. And subsequently, the metrics that result from MyGov correlates very strongly with my background in the petrochemical industry, whereby we had to establish metrics to determine how successful we are. Using the metrics for 98 code violations that I submitted just in 2022, our department has stepped up its game. We've increased the staffing. They have done a yeoman's job in addressing the high grass and weed. In fact, 2 weeks ago, we were caught up with all of those submittals that dealt with high grass and weeds. They're working on substandard structures, and they're taking a slow and easy approach to make sure that we give homeowners time to fix, correct, or abate whatever is going on with those structures. But we're on top of the game. We have put Chief Zackrell in charge of code enforcement. He has additional staffing to help him, and they are doing an awesome job. Lots across Texas City East and West Side are being cleaned up, cleared out. Abandoned vehicles have been removed. Once citizens realize that, hey, Texas City looks good when it's cleaned up, we're hoping that they will become more involved and participate in neighborhood cleanup projects. We have one scheduled. It's called the Great Cleanup Carver Park in May. That we do more of those kind of things, get the people in the neighborhood involved with cleaning up their neighborhoods.
Gotcha. Abel, same question to you, Dan. I use the term code enforcement, obviously knowing the department's changed, but where do you think the city needs to improve and make better strides?
Yeah. Commissioner Bowie kind of covered it pretty much, but I agree that when the survey was put out there, the mayor put out a survey to the city asking what kind of things they wanted the city to improve on, and code enforcement was one of the top subjects, one of the top topics that people wanted cleaned up. But, you know, I really don't know if people know exactly what code enforcement means. What can they have in their yards? What constitutes a violation of code enforcement? What needs to be removed? What needs to be cleaned up and fixed? But I agree that given people notice that there is an issue, and this is the issue, whatever it be, whether it be a vacant trailer, a vacant car, whatever it may be, give them an opportunity to move it, to fix it, to get an inspection sticker put on it. And then if it doesn't happen, then let's help them get rid of that vehicle or whatever it may be, whatever the problem may be. We're getting there. I believe we're getting there in that area with the new code enforcement officers. We're getting there.
Gotcha. Mark, same question to you, sir.
Well, I believe they're doing an awesome job. I just, you know, other municipalities in our county have a lot of issues with code enforcement. But I would like to see that we're not just going to go in there with a heavy hand, as one of our other candidates has already said, but we need to start trying to see if we can assist these people, because we just don't know if they have fallen down on hard times, if they have just lost the energy to do this or let go of something, because some people just want the assistance if you offer it to them, but some, if you're going to go in there and say, hey, I'm going to take your car away, they're going to take that as an act of aggression. So we need to try to get with these citizens and say, hey, look, we're not here to hurt you, we're here to help you. So if we can go in there to educate them, say, hey, this is what we're expecting that the city's going to be going forward with these kind of projects. Right now, you're not compliant. We want to try to help you. And they're going to say, okay. Hopefully they'll say, okay. And we can build from that, build that relationship with them. Just don't go in there and start taking the stuff. I'm not saying not to clean up the city, but yes, we still need to stay on top of these things, because a clean city is a safe city. So gotcha. I like it that way.
Thank you all. As I said, I wanted to have it as close to an hour here. I know we had other topics we could have touched on here, but for those viewers who didn't hear what they wanted to hear on here, all the candidates have, and I think Kevin's resubmitted his too. The chamber does have, and we'll provide a link here where you can go and look at the candidates' answers to the questions. Early voting begins on Monday, and then election day is May 7th. And those of you who weren't at the beginning, we did draw for an order for everyone to give their final pitch to the voters, up to 3 minutes on that. Abel, you will be going first. You have don't feel free not to use the whole 3 minutes if you don't want. But anyway, you get to go first.
Yeah, I wrote mine out. I will not take up the 3 minutes. You know, I believe that I possess the experience leadership to continue to make a positive impact in our community, in which I was born and raised, and for which I deeply care about. I possess and believe in high morals and strong ethics. And if I tell someone that I will accomplish a certain task, my word is my honor. Rest assured, I will perform that task. I enjoy working with all citizens of our community, helping our local businesses to be successful, and assist our local schools to succeed in their mission. I listen to issues and concerns, I research possible solutions, and I discuss those solutions with the mayor, fellow commissioners, and department heads. I firmly believe that collaborating with all affected people will always result in a positive outcome. I also believe it is important that Texas City continue to be a safe place where families can live, work, and raise their families. Thank you so much, TJ.
Thank you, Abel. Appreciate it. And next up is Marque Salinas. You're going to be up now. You have up to 3 minutes, sir.
So my name is Marque Solance. I'm a lifelong resident of Galveston County. Me and my wife and our 2 boys, we decided to move to Texas City almost about 5 years ago. And our number one concern is our safety for our families. Me as your commissioner at large, I would love to be able to be your representative to try to bridge those gaps between law enforcement and our public. And I would like to be part of that, where the city of Texas City keeps on moving forward with the 21st century, with the essence of advancement in our technology, improving our services to our citizens with our law enforcement, firefighters, and EMS, even in our cities of our water and sewage. We need to keep on top of these things. We are a growing city, and we will have growing problems. And I'll tell you right now, I will rest assured that I will be the representative for you to come to. When you have questions, I will seek that answer for you. If I can fix the problem for you myself, I will. If you have any other things you want to talk to me about, please reach out to me on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. You can shoot me a message. I'm very approachable. Come see me. I've been seeing citizens left and right. I've been walking neighborhoods this entire time since this election process has started. And I wish all the other candidates well. And I pray that City of Texas City we stay focused and we can try to get our crime under wraps. And I pray that I'm part of that process to help y'all out as much as I can, because I like to see City of Texas City grow in its way as it is right now, and that our citizens see that this is a safe place for our citizens to be at, to grow a family, invest their money, and just stay productive, and grow the community to be wholesome. And I pray that everyone is doing fine with that. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marque. Appreciate it. Thanks for participating with us here today. And then next up now is Mayor Pro Tem and City Commissioner Thelma Bowie. Thelma, up to 3 minutes, man.
As a solutions-oriented and collaborator with 20 plus years in the petrochemical industry, I bring a keen understanding of business strategies and performance objectives, personal accountability for exceeding work performances, and customer accountability. I have strong interpersonal and communication skills, and I have experience as a 3-term commissioner for District 1. Presently, as Mayor Pro Tem and Commissioner at Large, I serve on the Mayor's executive team, so I see the inner workings of the city. I serve on the zoning and the planning boards, both that relate to land use matters, which is very critical to the growth of the city of Texas City. I served on the Community Matters 2030 Committee, and that experience afforded me a well-honed understanding of our strategies and resulting goals, objectives, and action plans for the next 10 years. I presently serve as a board of director for the Gulf Coast Transit District. I represent Texas City on that board. I am humbled and honored to be endorsed by the AFL-CIO, the Texas Municipal Police Officers Association, and also the Texas City Fire Department, Local 1229. I am a well-rounded candidate, and I'm uniquely prepared to continue serving Texas City as your commissioner at large. Elect Thelma Bowie, I am a proven leader for the commissioner at large position. Thank you, and thank you, TJ, for this opportunity.
Thank you, Commissioner. We appreciate your time. And Kevin Yackly, up to 3 minutes, sir. Commissioner Yackly.
TJ, and thank Ms. Page for giving this opportunity to speak to you. I humbly love honoring and working in this city. I am the commissioner that understands the working man. I am also endorsed by the USW and labor as well. And to me, the most important I have is I'm endorsed by the real citizens, not the country club citizens that we're all thinking that they're a part of. I believe in opportunity. And I was a small businessman for 32 years. I say 31, but it's actually 32 years. And these people, all these commissioners thinking that they could teach you. Teaching is old fashioned. We need to move and we need to get on with it. And we need to have people that come out, and you cannot teach experience. So no matter what these programs they all belong to, experience and being there and having to run a small business and knowing the feeling that it has when you have to make a bill that you didn't make your sales, that's what's important. I will fight for our animals. We still haven't got there yet. I have discussed with them all on top making our shelter a non-kill shelter. This is the 21st century. We need to make sure that our shelter is a only adoptable shelter. That's very important to anybody that owns an animal. I am always available. I've always worked hard, but I'm not part of the country club. And that's what they like to do. All these ones that you see that are talking, these guys have been in office for so long. I'm for term limits. There's a lot of good quality candidates that are out there. We don't need to be there every single year and say, oh, elect me, I've been here 14 years. Who cares? We need new ideas. We don't have to have a mayor that's going to be a professional mayor. We need to have someone that is going to give us change and let someone new come in with new ideas. That's what I bring, is the new ideas, and let's have a real world of Texas City. I personally will do all I can to make sure that I always work with the city. You can call me. I will give you my cell number, 281-389-7593. You can call me on it. I will come to your house and discuss anything that you want to do. I certainly appreciate vote Yackly. You have the best vote that you can do that the real citizens will vote for. Thank you, TJ.
Can't hear you, TJ.
Sorry, I turned off my mic. That's what I kept y'all all there too. While there are 4 candidates, there are just so folks understand this that may not voted in Texas City. We have a lot of new residents there, particularly on the west side. That there are 4 candidates for 2 positions. The at-large positions, those the top 2 vote getters, are elected to those offices as at-large commissioners. So of these 4, the top 2 vote getters then move on. We, again, the incumbents, Commissioner Kevin Yackly, Mayor Pro Tem and at-large Commissioner Thelma Bowie, and their challengers, Abel Garza and Marque Salinas. Thank you all for being here with us today. We're 2 minutes over, so my apologies. I promised to get it. I know you'll have a city commission meeting to get to for the 2 of y'all here today. So thank y'all so much for being on with us. We appreciate it. And for those of you watching, we are working on a District 1 form. We're just trying to get everyone's schedules together. We'll have that some way, somehow. I'll make sure it works there. So thank you all for joining us. I'm TJ Alls, I-45 Now.